slightly and experimenting with different engagement formats, and this more events in Bangalore. And I'm Nachiket. I lead sales for DV in India. And I have a bunch of folks from DV and Cyprus coming here to speak with you guys now and afterwards as well. See, we're calling it trend spotting / future forward panel. Trust us, we're not going to pitch DV Cyprus here. Certainly we'll do that. That's our business. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to understand what trends probably we can see for, and this includes APAC data also as India data. We interviewed a few marketers, understood what's their pain point, how to look at media quality, how to look at performance, how to look at trends, how the consumer sentiments are changing, right? And all those stats are available there in the report. Some of that will present in like 5-10 minutes. This is not really a presentation, but we'll spend 5-10 minutes for all of us to understand what you say means. And then we'll throw the floor open for everyone. For a random discussion, I have questions. I have the easiest job today. I'm just going to throw open questions. So let's have a free-flowing conversation. This is not a particularly pointed question to anyone. Anyone can pick it up, share a point of views. We can have nice discussions / debate. And probably arrive at a couple of highlights or takeaways which can help us in our this year's strategy. Yeah. That's my only introduction. With that, last thing I want to introduce Team Cyprus. You must have heard that now DB and Cyprus are together. We joined Cyprus last month. Cyprus, in a nutshell, is an AI-driven company which brings in efficiencies for your programmatic buys for any KPI that you set. And that algorithm is primarily run by AI. So we'll talk about it later offline. We don't have, again, there is no sales pitch here, just a primary conversation. We have account managers here, we have finance team here, we have sales team here, so we have to talk. Thanks once again. With that, we'll have a slight nice ice-breaking activity which I would like Jared to end off.
I think mine is more pointless questions. So I think that's we're doing the pointed discussions. So I'm trying to kind of keep the room a little more, like light and quirky, right? So, with that, my name is Jayan. So I'm part of the DV sales team. So I and Jaiti handle the India sales along with Nachi. Nachi gets the sales for us. So thank you for everyone for coming here today. I mean, it's a bunch of a great panel with a mix of agency and clients, so we get a perfect look at both sides, right? So with that, I'm going to just throw in some pointless questions to understand how you're going to say it. So I think my first question is fairly since we just kind of current Joe stores kind of ended recently, and the Ori aura is going on, right? So I'm sure you would have seen the videos of Ori.
Dark days are here.
Yeah, the dark days are here. Relevance room is coming into the picture, right? So if you could be on a TV reality show, which one would you choose and why?
I think let's go one by one.
One by one.
Start with a little bit of intro and then answer the question.
Yeah, I think you can start with your name, and I think since we already know what it is, but just yeah.
So hey guys, I'm Akash Jain. I'm part of Flipkart team. I lead media. I've been with Flipkart for about 7 years. I think to answer this question, if I were to be part of some reality show, I think it would be some singing show because
Nice.
out of work, I think I'm a passionate singer. Right, so I think, yeah.
Amazing.
Hi everyone, my name is Shashidhar. I head programmatic at Flipkart. So to answer his question, I think some survival show, especially considering the way my last year went.
Hi guys, I'm sorry.
Over to you.
I'm Ananya Agarwal. I work with TVS Motors. I think my life itself is a show. To admit myself from eating another. Yes.
Hi, I'm Karanjeet. I head the media for that consumer. I think I will, the reality show, maybe MasterChef.
Oh,
Nice.
Nice.
I'm Sameer and I lead Cyber in India. And if I were to be on a show, I think I'd be Shashi some company.
Yeah, hi, this is Sohan. I work with Wipro Consumer. I get media for Wipro, and for a reality show could be Big Boss because I'm very inquisitive and try to get into the drama a little bit, which is beyond work, and so that's.
Hi guys, I'm Saurabh Jain. I am with Abbas Media for the last 9 years. If I was to be in a reality show, maybe I think maybe KBC for all transactional reasons.
Hey, I'm Aparna. I lead South for Interactive Avenues. You said TV reality show, I don't watch TV. So I would love to create a reality show around agency life. I think that will definitely have highest ratings. But yeah.
Podcasts have already started.
Yeah, absolutely. We have one in house and it is so much fun.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It might be close to the survivalist show that
One episode definitely.
Awesome. Hey everyone, my name is Soumitra. Please call me Soumi. I know it's like the longest name. I lead brand marketing at Meesho. Been a couple of years with the company. I started with KBC because I thought कि चलो
Everything is money.
post office work की थोड़ा बहुत पढ़ाई करेंगे कुछ तो निकाल लेंगे. Then that was taken, so then I thought master chef that would also be. So, but no, if I were to feature, I think I always be jealous of people who get to travel for free. And those travel hosts that you see, I would love to be one of those people. Just go around the world and show people the world.
So hi everyone, I'm Jayati and I'm a part of the sales team for DoubleVerify. I can't dance, I can't sing. So I think the same better say Master Chef, but I don't really know if I'll make it through the first round. But good to have you all here.
Awesome. For me, reality show would be probably I would be hosting Antakshari.
Saregama.
Army hosting.
Easiest job. Find the easiest job.
My name is Jayan. So I think for me it would be like Big Boss. Alright, so this is another very funny question. Not funny, like.
Literally, that word flashed.
This is not a question.
Literally testing the sentiments. Like, what it would be like.
Absolutely. I think with a bunch of mid-age people, definitely it is going to be home.
Should be on the day.
So I think if I were to teleport, right, probably in PM's office, something to understand what is going on, right? Because you don't see him on press conferences, you don't have enough interactions to know what is going on in his head, right? So probably trying to understand the person and I think yeah.
I want to be a Ravish Kumar. Like, what's your take on Rama?
I've not even thought about it. That's why I was looking at it.
Losers we are. Agency people can't even afford to think.
Woman office.
You still need a brief now.
So I would pick some place with a beach, a little bit of internet for my gadget.
And no clients are.
Please, no clients around, literally. Internet, but no Outlook, no Teams. Yeah.
Since it's a like question, maybe we can talk about home.
Embassy one.
I think I'm very similar to what Akash said. I have very good, I would say, inclination towards politics. So maybe next to the Modi governments.
Oh, nice.
I would want to be involved if my friends are catching up after 4 months.
I feel for you.
FOMO is happening for sure.
I think I could be somewhere where there is definitely no connection and completely like switch off phone, laptop, no access to anything and spend good 15 days. So there is no emergency call saying that you have to be on the Teams call for a meeting. I think that's something that I would love to
Take
do.
your luxury.
Again. I'm a cricket buff, so
So I'll be the umpire in India-England match today. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Was there a mishap?
Yes, Rich.
Well,
First answer is not bad.
Yeah.
after home, I manage like a team of about 300 people, so I have too many people that I see on a daily basis. So I would love to be anywhere with just myself, me time, and I'm a beach bum, so yeah, a nice, lovely, beautiful beach just by myself would be, I can die for it right now.
Because the option is open to go anywhere. I think ISS would be a good international space station.
Because there was a clear conflict, like one
I will see the figure say, I want So yeah, international space station. Just be clarity.
Yeah, that's will be my option too. I love space and anything related to space. So yeah, that's interesting. Imagine.
Yeah, I think this is the last one. Okay, I'm so sorry.
No, I'm good. I'm good. We have to say that too.
Yes, please. Yeah.
No, but I think if it was for me, I love the mountains and it's started snowing in Himachal, so I'll be there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
I'll be in a conference room when our boss is talking to his boss about my
Oh my god. Oh my god, seriously.
I really want to hear what goes behind that increment, man. When is my money getting given?
It's scary, but it's not invisible.
Irrespective.
Always true.
I can take that liberty.
If I could teleport right now, I would have been in Vegas right now. So yeah.
That's a money.
That's why we need that promotion.
We're all looking at ways of making money otherwise.
Yeah.
Than giving up.
Great. This is the last one. So, and I know like we all how much we consume by the mobile consumption, everything, right? So, if given an option to delete all the apps from your phone and just to keep 3, what would it be?
I think definitely WhatsApp. My stock trading app, which I use, and the third one probably my singing app.
Oh,
Nice. I will keep Amazon and stuff. And
I didn't hear Flipkart from Akash, so that was kind of.
See, Flipkart as an app, same thing. For me, Amazon, Flipkart, any one of those shopping apps is what I need.
I would want others to keep.
And then Gmeet,
Okay.
because I don't want WhatsApp.
You still survive.
And I want some FaceTime with some foods. And just the calling phone app, that's all. These are the 3 I'll keep. Everything else I'll delete right now if I get the option.
Calling my bank app and then camera.
I forgot. Back.
Yeah, for me it would be my AD app. Addicted to just watching so many times. I don't really know about it. That is one. I think the second one, like you said, the bank one. Third would be the Gmeet, so that at least I can video call my loved ones.
I think GPay, the bank app, and Fitshot Junior, with which I speak to my child when I'm traveling.
I think for me, food, music, and payment, EPI app. That's it.
For me, travel is important, so make my trip for sure. Calling app and my stock trading.
Okay. 2 stock trading apps. Nice.
For me, Sudoku, Spotify, and Instagram.
So, interesting.
Similar, I think Spotify, food delivery. I think sorted, going up. Another balance.
More or less the same, I think, but for me to be YouTube, so I can even maybe do video. You can't do that. But YouTube, Swiggy for sure. It's my most used app, so I'm addicted to that, and then Audible. That's what like that.
Netflix, Swiggy, or Zomato, whatever it is. And yeah, stop it.
think for me, Swiggy, YouTube, and WhatsApp. I think these are the three, the basic one which I would definitely.
Swiggy has been most people's
Yeah.
Yeah, I can read that.
More than Swiggy, it's extra one. More than
Maybe 7-8 times in a week.
How big is Zepto yours? Big in
Okay, for me it's big. Like I order 4 times, 5 times a day, and I keep it. Yeah, so for me it's it has been my favorite.
Your plan?
No. It's just meeting my personal needs.
All the apps retained have come down the Maslow hierarchy to basic needs.
Basic needs, absolutely.
Alright, great. Thank you so much. I think this kind of, like warm up to the session that we are looking forward to. So over to you, Nachi.
So before we dwell into the questions, I think we'll take probably 10 minutes to take you through key findings of the report so that when we speak, we should be all on the same page. Over to Jayati and Isha. Take the next few slides.
hijacked you all. We'll just call it closed room to sound better. Here's a quick overview of the agenda today. I think we have almost had the welcome introduction done. Before we delve into the panel discussion, we're going to be showing a few slides on India market consumer trends specifically. How can you all benefit out of this with your advertisers? And then now that we already know that consumers are spending more time online, while it's a boon, we also need to ensure that their attentions are taken care of and we reach them at the right time at the right place. And then the Cybits team will be taking you through how AI can help you all do better buys and get closer to your end results. And consumers are prioritizing social as a very key platform today. Having said that, while social is increasing rapidly, it's safe to say that for the APAC markets, close to 60% of the social world users are in APAC. So we are sitting at a huge opportunity today in India. If you look at 3 specific metrics, discovery, research and purchase, you will see how India is a very, very critical market for that. Close to 30% users are discovering brands and products today on social media specifically. While they're discovering it, they're also looking at opportunities where they can get more information as to decide how can they come close to transactions and buys. And close to 17% of them get motivated to purchase and use buy prominently with social platforms. Now 17% might look small, but when you have a base of like a YouTube or a Facebook or a LinkedIn, not TikTok so much here now, it's a huge, huge opportunity for us to tap onto. With social media rising, we're also seeing retail increasing in this space. So while retail is increasing, it's got a very different dynamic in India specifically. We're seeing users shift from traditional search engines to now 2 main points where they can make better purchases and increases. One is e-commerce and the second is your marketplaces that are closer to e-commerce. So we're seeing homegrown brands like Zepto, Myntra, Flipkart, Amazon, Uber, which were traditionally just an opportunity for users to come and buy at one marketplace. Today, advertisers can also see it as an opportunity to reach out to their target audiences. Now that we've spoken about social and primarily retail, another very dynamic shift in terms of another platform to reach out to your audiences is CTV. It's growing slowly but rapidly in the market like India especially. Gaming is slightly smaller here, we're seeing it grow in Australia, but CTV is where I'd like to put your focus on. 93% of Indian streamers claim that they're responding to the ads on the CTV platform. And having said that, 33% of them are making purchases. While we have these great numbers in front of us, CTV still got a larger journey to make to be sophisticated than media quality and verification. We know that wherever money goes, fraud follows. So while we talk about viewability, we talk about fraud, we have to still map CTV a little more closely than other platforms like social and direct buys. So the entire intention is how can you ensure that if social media or CTV or any other platform opens up, open web is something where platforms like us have succeeded to a larger extent to give advertisers an opportunity to reach out to their audiences in a better media quality platform. We thrive to extend that on these platforms as well. So it's a very, very interesting slide. While we take retail into consideration, YouTube into consideration, or let's say CTV, it's very, very important to understand the cultural nuances from market to market. As you can see over here, it's very interesting. Markets like Australia and New Zealand, they prefer humanism more than dataism. Whereas India and China, which is a huge market for us, India, is a huge scope for us to understand that they get the benefit of data by sharing it, right? While it's a privacy heavy market, end users also prefer retargeted ads if it solves for them to a larger extent, save time, and get more direct understanding to what their buy patterns are. So with the earlier slides where we covered about how there is a huge scope of increasing content consumption in India and for advertisers to reach their large audiences, this number clearly shows a stat. 78% of consumers are increasing content today, and this has obviously taken a larger rise with the pre and the post-COVID pandemic era. So we know that audiences who are right from 13 years plus to 60 plus are now very, very comfortable with consuming content online, purchasing online, deciding online. In fact, CTV also has seen a shift of users who are 60 years plus also be comfortable in using it now. So while we're saying that there's a huge opportunity for us to tap into our users, are we really reaching out to them at the right time and in a more safer environment? 98% of the marketers tell us that they are using attention matrix, but are they really using it? I think as an industry we're still evolving when it comes to attention. When we talk about attention, it's traditionally about video completion rate, in-view time, viewable rate, but these are actually more close to viewability. It's not really how the user is engaging with the ad. We had one of our FMCG consumers come to us and tell us that there have been instances where 60% of the ad shows viewable, but probably the user is not in front of the screen. So these metrics don't really solve for it, and that's why we started digging in more deeper metrics and insights like engagement and exposure. So how is my user interacting with the ad? When the video is playing, are they pausing it? Are they playing it? Are they shifting it from vertical to horizontal? What's the portion of the screen? So for agency folks, it's an opportunity to probably understand if you're using the same creative across 10 devices, is it working well or not? Probably 300 by 250 on your mobile versus on a laptop is very different. So you need to get these insights on your side and then make decisions based on your video campaigns.
You can do creative wise, but creative and platforms also?
Creative and placement both, yes, you can. So clearly a mindset shift towards media quality is, I would say, required and already happening, but there needs to be happening. It needs to take place more from education to adoption now. So 91% of marketers agree that measuring media quality is extremely important. We all know there are occasions where we talk about it, we don't adapt it, but somewhere at some point, if someone from our company sees a particular ad next to content that does not resonate with their brand, it's a fire moment, right? So instead of waiting for that, you rather safeguard yourself from day one and make smarter investments and save your media dollar wise. More than half of marketers are very confident about ensuring quality on almost all media channels. But while we have these stats, some numbers prove opposite. 1 in 3 marketers are using verification tools as an ad hoc basis, right? We have clients come and tell us that can we use your platform or any verification partner just to understand how are the publishers performing for us. But we're talking about UGC content. So today it may be a 98%, but tomorrow it may be a 92%. Sometimes, while we know that brand safety, fraud, viewability is spoken of more and more and more in the room, how often are we guilty of treating them in silos? So when it's a video campaign, we say 60% plus viewability, but what if we're not focusing on fraud? So all these 4 metrics need to be considered together as 4 basic factors and parameters for media quality and verification. With that, I'll let Ishan come and speak more on Cybids. We're all around here. Please ask us more questions around it, and yeah, thank you.
Hey everyone, I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. I'm Ishan. I work with the Cybids sales team in India. And the impact of AI in our lives is going to be huge, as we all put know it across industries. And so it's going to be for our industry, especially when it comes to generative AI. So because more and more content is going to be generated online, you'll see more websites coming up, more content and more clicks being attracted and more traffic attracted to these websites. And that's media efficiency. With that, of course,
creating content becomes very easy. But at the same time, finding quality media would also become difficult. Right? That's one challenge in front of us. Second is media creation. So now creating, say, editions of a creative to thousands and millions of consumers will become fairly easy. But then with that, you can also run into unsuitable content, unsafe content, and also copyright infringement, which is also a challenge. And of course, third is ad fraud, because AI is a mix of both good and bad. So if it's going to impact the good side, it's also going to be on the bad side. And like JP mentioned as well, ad fraud follows money. So we'll see more advanced fraud coming in, bots which are smarter, and hence run to high risk of invalid traffic. But to counter AI, we'll have to use AI. So now we have predictive AI, which essentially can make decisions for you and predict a possibility of an event happening or not. So that's where Savix comes into the picture, and now DB has both measurement and optimization. So we can of course optimize towards bringing down the cost. That's one part of it. That happens inevitably if you're buying media efficiently. We can optimize towards return on ad spends, any other KPI that you might have, a conversion KPI or the sales KPI. And at the same time, you optimize towards attention, probability data, ad fraud, and kind of avoid them from happening, rather than going back and looking at the data and then deciding what you have to do now. And at the same time, you can also include your first party data like purchase or audience data to optimize and inform your customers. And you can scan this code to get the copy of this report. And with that, I'll hand it over to Lachi.
Can you go to the next slide?
The previous one.
At the first principle level, like, where is majority of fraud happening? Is it about fake users, mad users, wrong users, or fake reporting? Like, what is it? Where does the...
So there is no one way where maximum fraud is happening. What does emulated device means is you have one laptop which I am using right now, but somewhere in an impression farm, my laptop is coded into 10,000 other laptops. Right? So there is one impression here, but it's multiplied by 10,000 on the code side. So there is no one way to do fraud or one way where fraudsters are engaging more. Every day there is a new fraud signature comes in.
And with, I'm assuming like TV to largely is like controllable, but on digital ecosystem, especially big platforms like YouTube and Meta, and they have automated algorithms that you set up a campaign and you just push it out, and then you get the report. And you can get into the reports, but why would somebody on these platforms try to twist the campaign in one or the other direction? What is the gain that the fraudster is taking from this?
So mostly those are imposters, right? So they create an intervention in between the platform and the user, right? So the user might feel that I'm interacting with that platform, that is interacting with the intervention. So, and then that's linked to some commercials, whether it's AdSense or it can be anything, right? And the more impressions are burned there, the more money you generate. So it really doesn't go at back.
So this integration, right, while you guys try to integrate this with advertisers, has there been initiation of working with the publishers, right? Because if their things are sorted, right, it becomes just helpful for just video, like almost every advertiser, right?
Yeah, we would hold them on.
Exactly. No, definitely. So see, honestly speaking, if you look at the ecosystem, no publisher would do it. Right? Nobody will do it. It's hardly any money for them for the kind of money they are making otherwise. Right? So they won't do it on their own. There's a third party which kicks in and probably interferes with the systems. Now there are multiple layers in which fraud gets detected. So it starts right from the data centers where publishers are using, right? So data centers kill the fraud. Then it moves to the servers, then it moves to third-party ad servers, then it moves to DSPs, and then the third-party verification layer. So whatever we identify are far more advanced, sophisticated fraud signatures, because the GIVTs and etc. are already being killed by those existing systems already. But sometimes what happens is some fraud signature which is like really crazy goes through all of this and still impacts that brand. And it's not only about the impressions or the clicks that it's also about the reputation of the brand. right? Because you've pumped in millions of dollars to build a brand, take it to this level. Now suddenly something goes wrong. This has happened with one of the electronic brands, and that person, the brand manager, has spoken on the panel, saying all it takes is that one impression where your so-called influencers are just waiting to grab the limelight. So one of the influencers took the screenshot, tweeted the global CEO, and then the whole silicon list. So it's more of the cost of doing it versus cost of not doing it. As simple as that.
I'm so sorry, this will turn out to be other way around. I think you will be the panel will be like, people will be asking more questions. But in any other markets, right? I know that there are a lot of best practices globally, with you guys, with us, but is there any other market where you have examples of brands actually buying on the cost per attention metrics that you have mentioned out here?
So it's not a transactional metric yet. They are measuring the attention, but they are not transacting.
So I understand that, but if it is also, because obviously at the end of the day your efficiencies, everything also will be affected with that. So I just want to understand, are there any other markets who are using this so much that at the end they're actually going to measure, this?
There are quite a few. In fact, at a basic level in India also, it has conversations have started, especially with CPG category.
I'm in fact doing A/B testing with a lot of brands, but just wanted to understand the other markets how involved it is in terms of
US, in fact, in Europe, London particularly, UK particularly, Australia in some cases. Australia is heavy in programmatic. So they have begun attention. But India also, now we are utilizing basic viewability data, honestly. We are at a level where we just started measuring viewability. So now some of the brands are saying, can we only pay for viewable impressions or viewable CPM? Can that be a currency going forward, right? No, not necessarily you will be able to buy media basis viewable CPM, but at least you should be able to create a deal with the publishers by some caveat saying, hey, you need to hit certain viewability, otherwise you will be penalized by certain percentage, right? Or let's create VCPM, maybe it will be higher than your standard CPM, but you're ensuring that viewability, and I'm only paying for say 70% plus viewable impressions. So things like that. So there are metrics that are getting evolved. It's not at an industry level. Every advertiser, the way they're measuring it, they're just thinking how they can leverage this data. But it's moving in the right direction, I just said.
Machi, I just want to add to that, sorry, because you spoke about this, right? There are advertisers, for example, we have a published case study with Colgate US, where they use attention as a metric, and the definition of a successful campaign is to be able to deliver a quality CPM for them, which takes into account the attention. So when you use machine learning and artificial intelligence to learn within the campaign and improve the campaign, what you end up delivering is a attention level. And they have been measuring it, they've been doing it, and it's not a report card that at the end of the day, what did I deliver, but it is a KPI which is given to the machine that please deliver this particular KPI.
So I have seen a lot, in fact, Coke, when we worked with them, I teach in India, we managed Coke for many years. I think as old as like 2 years back, right, globally they had case studies with respect to how they purchase intent, and your spont has gone up when they kind of adopted the attention measurement.
They're actually deploying AI for clarity. So optimizing within the campaigns.
But that's an interesting video. Maybe I'll throw it open for everyone, right? If attention is viewability plus metrics right now, what would you like to measure as an attention? Right? What is it that will excite you when you want to measure an attention of user? Anybody?
I think creative is very important, right? Today, I think it's so fragmented, right? I mean, she spoke about how the marketplace is so fragmented. So it's no more about a TVC or a digital video being run, and there is so much overlap between the consumption, that your consumer is on TV, could be linear or CTV, or social media, or many platforms, and hence there's a push from a lot of agencies and also brands to look at content in a different environment needs different messaging and content, while your brand needs to have consistency across, but within that environment you need to have a completely different. So this for attention, to understand what communication content in which platform in that environment for that user, I think this will really help brands understand. But to me that's like a great measurement metric.
Awesome.
So I guess the correlation will search because the way we used to work versus how attention is contributing.
Very interesting.
You said this was search, right?
So I think 2-3 areas more from a FMCG perspective. So obviously FMCG, if I look at soap as a category, soap usually searches doesn't happen that much because it's a commoditized product, right? So the way we usually plan is we look at the viewable impression that we are talking about, we optimize the plan on views and we don't optimize the plan on impressions. Yes. Because obviously, we understand that if the impressions, probably you need 100 impressions to reach probably 30 people, rather than reaching 30 people or the 30 views, we optimize for 50 views and whatever impression that it takes. So it's a back calculate way of sort of doing it. There is, I think, fundamental level of seeing that whether viewability and right frame of audience that we are capturing in. That is one. Second, another thing that we have been doing and that is sort of working for us is tracking the engagement for influencer. So whenever we do influencer, because I'm just talking about from a Wipro perspective, because we are very strong regional brand, right? And we are a very high ATL advertiser. So TV is everything for us, at a overall level, right? So whatever we do, and when we look at the brand metrics, right, brand funnel, saying that whether the mind measure is improving or not, whether a brand like Santoor who is already at a 90% level, how much more awareness that you can build in, right? Then you go for the consideration.
Sure.
So when we look at an influencer level, and influencer initially the way it has evolved from last 5 years or last 3 years, that initially we used to always look at a macro influencer because that will give me reach, the kind of followers that we have. But then we understood that you are getting the reach, but that is not translating into the brand lift, so-called brand lift or brand engagement that way. Hence we sort of moved into the engagement metrics, saying that okay, if it is the views and this is the engagement that they are doing on the site, what is the sort of a ratio that you are looking at? Broadly sometimes it is 8 to 10%, from a category to category perspective, and that is what we optimize. So whenever we plan, we look at the engagement metrics rather than looking at macro influencer or what is the reach number that you are getting. For us, micro nano influencer work beautifully because while the number is small, because we are anyway having a top of the funnel advertisement, so that is anyway reaching everywhere, right? So to create that intent, the purchase intent or the engagement for the user, I think that is a very critical mass that we are targeting.
In fact, it's an interesting point. It's established principle that macro influencers brands are using to put the word out there,
Exactly.
right? I mean, awareness or
Absolutely.
just spreading,
on top of the funnel.
And micro influencers are actually driving purchase intent and even sales.
Yeah.
I mean, many examples around that. So yeah, in Wipro's case,
I'm glad we're talking about influencers because when it comes to ad fraud or genuinely ethical platforms, influencer to me is the black box, right? Because so far there's no standardization. Because applying a platform like DV in a practice is fair for larger chunk of media spends, but I think influencers by default are now taking up a significant AdX. But that is the most unorganized, unstructured and verified, right? Especially with bots and bot seeding comments. Even if you're measuring engagement rate, right? Who is engaging? Right? That is my first question, because right now even as brands we focus on building process and looking at brand health on social. Honestly, all of it can be bought, right? Yeah. And which is actually a more concerning area for me when it comes to ad fraud or where my investment is going than actually where the established platforms.
Also have an influencer, right?
Sorry.
So same question. I thought even on influencers there could be a
So partially yes. So what happens is there are two ways to look at influencers, right? One, influencers creating content for you, and second, already existing influencers on platforms like YouTube, right, where they are creating content and you're running ads, earning premium scale, whatever that is. Right? So second part can be tackled.
It's an ad at the end of the day, so
but not for. But that what that can do is, so we have something called as pre-screen where we'll give you a list of channels, including channels of influencers or UGC, taking into consideration multiple factors, right? The number of subscribers, the frequency of content creation, the sanctity of content that they have created, the engagements that they have driven, and then we give them certain score, right? If that score is high, then
some
we can,
frameworks that
something is there which can further be built up.
I influencer part I'm just touching upon. So what we have done from ACE's point of view is that we have done a tracking link, right, from influencers comment in the description, and then we track, and that is driven to our D2C store, and then we track how much time they spent on the store. So if it's like a minute or minute and a half, then we know that that crowd is a quality crowd which got engaged. Plus we give sometimes a coupon code for them to redeem it from our store, right? So I think if you combine both of these, at least from our point of view, kind of knows which influencers works for us. And then if you do like a couple of times, then we know these are set of influencers which is really driving engagement for us. Because tech as a category needs a lot of advocacy in terms of influencer and all of that. Right? So I think that's what we have done and kind of seen some
I think the gap is in when you're using thousands of catchy influencers to amplify, you actually don't know who they are, what they are, I think, and that, but you need that kind of amplification for reach, and every time I think we do influencer activity, while it's about engagement, it's also about how many people are you reaching out to, right? And therefore it becomes expensive. I think that's the circle that we're getting into. Yes, frameworks definitely help it.
I think what you pointed out, we also use a lot of couponing to track, how much people have really responded to it rather than just seeing it. I think reach is again a matrix which is very generic, more than
And
anything
depends
else.
what's reporting it, right? There's an influencer agency dashboard in between, right?
And I think from an attention standpoint also, I think we are already, I mean, as an industry, as you were presenting also, right, that there is different metrics, whether it is CPM, CTR, etc. I think we will have to move to a place where we will say there is a eCPM attention number, because we can't really live with what we are right now. But I think like to your point also on creative, right? I think a lot of that attention number will only come even if you have the best targeting, if your creator has the right placement of the ad. The same way how Google does the cat audit, right? Where they'll come and tell you how much of your ad product was seen in the creator. And you can have the best attention metrics, the number will never go up because the ad does not capture the brand in the right manner. I think somewhere as an industry we've not moved there, but I think this year in 24 we should I think a lot of conversations are happening already, and of course I'm sure it's a matter of time.
So it can become the new currency.
Exactly. I think attention is the new currency. Because see, everybody. I mean, you look at the digital ecosystem. I mean, I remember early days. Everybody, I'm sure on the table will remember, used to talk about TV ad is exposed to one consumer only. 2% they remember every day, right? So many TV ads. I think now we are in a world where we'll say, okay, 1 lakh ads seen on digital, and only 2% are registered, right? So we are actually in that place now for digital.
See, honestly, stakeholders, internal stakeholders. Okay. So, you tell your CFO, tell your MD, attention CPM now,
So education and awareness about. No, I never understand this reach concept, and no offense to anyone. The thing is, I know for FMCGs, even for e-commerce, we handle Amazon, and everything is at scale, right? You have to talk the language of scale, reach, etc. But I don't think so. We are bold enough to still have conversation around, I'm reaching to so many people. But how many who's my actual consumer who's buying? How many number of people are actually, my e-commerce is easy because everybody shops on, these days. But but other categories, I mean, very difficult category that we have here. I think those conversations need to happen. People definitely not wants to reach.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's like the brand man just wants to play that 30-second and running there.
Well, that's quite the opposite. Going back to influencers, Nisha is a brand built on influencers, right? Like and everything. Last 4 years, we have been polishing that playbook quite a lot. And today, it's advanced to an extent that we now have commerce metrics. We realize that the first phase of influencer marketing is they are an affinity medium. Second is they are a reach medium. Third is they are a commerce medium. And they will also realize this. Eventually, people and brands will stop paying.
Today, influencers are open to having conversations on how many sales is what I start with, but that at least comes to not reach an engagement, but somewhere in between. But the buying metric needs to be, around those lines.
Cost per order, commission
will
based.
that also be driving a lot of probably fraud and proxy engagements because you're pushing them to deliver more, right? And if they want to earn more, probably they need to show more engagement.
I'm assuming we have tracking in place.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually, if we have tracking, and that's a second level audit on our platform, which is bound. So I think here this, concern is far less.
So it's like asking Deepika Padukone to sell the soap that she's endorsing, right?
Yeah, but Deepika Padukone, I'm assuming she says anything it sells, but.
No, actually, I think this is where the bargaining power of the creator or the artist versus the bargaining power of the client. There's a back and forth that happens, right? Of course, you can't ask a macro, already famous person with a lot of credibility market, with a lot of intangible value to the brand as well, to operate on a commission-based basis, right? But of course, folks who are just starting out, especially people in fashion, influencers, fashion, beauty, I think they're very well aware, micro creators very well aware that this is a commerce play. It's not an affinity.
Since we're talking about influencers so much, questions a lot of things which we usually do here. We say that social media is the new buzz and it happened 5 years back, and after that, attention actually says that social media's attention score is the minimum amongst TV, YouTube is the best, and then social media is worse.
So attention is what? Time spent, you're saying? Or
it is viewability into some other sport. So there are 3-4 sources. Abbas has done some studies. I think T-Vision and LinkedIn technologies are making this
Man, there's a couple of tangents.
Snap and a lot of.
In fact, there are 2 ways of tracking. One is eyesight, and another one is head tracking. So which is T-Vision is doing the head tracking. But on television screen it can be understood that yes, this person is looking at the screen, but on a digital screen you need to see whether that person is looking at the ad or therefore eye tag.
So we work very closely with TV. We are exclusive partners with TV.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. In India?
Globally, which includes India as well.
Because globally, we work with them as well.
Yeah. So we're building more and more sophistication using TV technology.
In fact, TV plus digital, you will need partners like T-Vision to do both, because attention is just not digital. While there is larger, scope there, but even TV, right? I mean,
So lot of discussions are there that reach of television is going down, digital is going up. So are we taking a discussion towards digital clearly? Are we ruling out television? But then attention says a different story altogether. So I think it's a very good difference.
Just to add, I think a lot of points, right? I think we started with attention. I think while we talk about consumption has increased overall, right? But I think with diversification, a lot of people have gone deeper and wider. There are more platforms, and within platforms you have newer formats where people are spending a lot of time, right? I was with Meta the other day, and they told me on an average a person consumes more than 90 reels a day. Right now, that is bound to kill attention. You pick any media metrics of any vertical format, it is all single digit, right? Where the times where we were about a 40-50% VTR on YouTube, right now we are on a 2, 3, 5, 6%. That itself tells the kind of attention now. There, I think while platforms work well on an organic format, but as an advertiser, when you put out something, right, then it becomes very difficult for you to have that attention, because users are behaving just swiping up, right?
There is attention on the platform and then attention on the ad, right? So here, I think mostly
Attention on the ad.
Ad. So it is again the first challenge is on platforms like social media. How do you get people to see an ad? It cannot be an ad, and hence your conversations on what kind of content are you creating on social media, because it cannot be an ad at all, because everybody's averse to ads on social media. And then after they look at your content, then the attention conversation becomes more relevant.
I think very fair point, which was what my question was. We saw that consumption has grown, the platforms have multiplied, which is like another challenge for you guys, right? How do we measure, right? YouTube has different ad formats, different measurement definitions versus Facebook, versus a Hotstar, versus some other Snap and anybody else, right? So how do you guys kind of balance this? How do you measure this across platforms? Is it still independent measurement for all platforms, or you found a way to kind of get it together? I mean, Aparna, Shashi can throw more light, but would love to hear from everybody. How are you managing and how are you balancing this?
So I'd like to add a couple of points before measuring, right? I think you, as a client, right, when we work with a lot of stakeholders, like someone who's a brand manager who comes to us, right, there is this emotional quotient saying, I want to be there on all the platforms. I want this campaign to be there on even Meta and Instagram and this and that and all of that, right? Now, they don't understand the challenge because...
and they'll give you one TVC.
Yeah, and they'll give you one TVC and a period of budget. Right? So it is very important, and my point has always been like, I just tell single line that you can't spread too thin, right? It is important for you, while it is important for you to be present on multi-platforms, but it is important for you to own a certain platform or audience, right? So for example, for Flipkart, we are sitting on a ton of our first party data, right? That kind of helps us very well, where I know for this kind of brief, this TG, this is sitting on, from the match rate point of view, I know that, okay, I need to go to Meta, I need to go to Insta or those platforms, right? And then we kind of ensure that we go behind audience rather than platforms. That is a key approach, I think, which has kind of helped, right? Secondly, to your point, how do we go about different platforms? The way at least we tackle is, we kind of figure out, okay, this is a Uber job to be done from the campaign, but every platform has a different job to be done, right? Like for example, what a vertical video can drive versus what a selection carousel can drive are two different things, right? Like maybe a meta static can drive a very, very cheap reach for me. So if I want to build just reach, I go static and I know I get a very efficient reach. But if I want to drive consideration, I need to go to YouTube.
In fact, if you just take a step back from reach, right? I just had one point on that. Role of platform into format, into the messaging
Absolutely.
is the go-to for, if that can encompass your strategy. You don't have to be everywhere and anywhere, but to get that out, I think it's hard for us to.
It's a very basic ask though, right? And it's still such a big problem.
So it's a very basic thing to talk. Sorry, they should have become like, oh my God, I know it's taking different turns, but it is. But in reality, it's very difficult to plan in that framework. It's very simple, thumb rule, but it's very difficult to plan.
And especially when there are so many platforms today.
Yeah.
And if your TAM is already there, I think you are also like, you have to know that okay, people, males in West Bengal who are of an industry are more on Facebook versus, let's say, females or younger females in Karnataka are more on Snapchat. And then you plan at an SCR level. Like people are doing different things in Bhadravan, Bundelkhand and Vidarbha, and like it's almost at an SCR level the media levels, right?
Yeah, sure.
And hence, what is basic takes this 7,000 line item, essentially to say ऐसे बनाना पड़ेगा, like that.
The question around measurement, see, it depends upon the fragmentation itself, the number of devices that are involved, including the number of formats that we are working on. If it's a display, then probably a timing view has an impact for me, provided the industry is also something that I'm looking at. Timing view for me for an automobile client is very important because it means that the creative is being looked at. Engagement on the creative, the swipes and everything to look at the models and everything, it becomes important. important. Similarly, completed views takes importance when it's a CTV or a YouTube ad.
Sure.
So that's how we look at it, really keeping the attention metrics in mind. The results have been fantastic, but then everything boils down to measurement and attribution at the end of the day. So attribution of the proper platform combined with identification of the proper attention metric that we should be optimizing towards is the most important thing. And that's still a work in progress. I still think that 2024 will shed more light, but then it still will not give us a solution. It's still a work in progress.
And there should be a common definition across all the platforms.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think unless
Maybe not.
There cannot be. There may not.
Because exactly
Yeah,
because to add to that, right? Essentially, every brand I've worked with have very different objectives and challenges and categories, right?
Sure.
And their consumers react differently on different platforms. So it is an evolving guidance that one has to create in-house, right? And then built on. So if I have to run a awareness campaign on Meta versus YouTube, I will let's say plan for a frequency of 8 to 12 in a month on Meta versus a 4 on YouTube to drive a same level of effectiveness. Depending on how my past campaigns have also given a certain sense of confidence, and that guidance will keep evolving.
And a lot of brands are doing
exactly.
this.
So
Like
I will not
frameworks, planning metrics that have evolved over the years.
I don't typically I refrain from reporting total views of a campaign to my CM, right, or my head of business, because that doesn't make sense. Right?
But these are not KPIs involved, right?
I know. So since you talked about unification, there is none.
No, I'm talking unification from media quality point of view. So that could be a unified definition. So let's say someone is doing a campaign on a Hotstar or a YouTube, or let's say on an OTT platform. If you're doing the IAB standard definition for the OTT on 3 and on the other it's pass-through rate of Facebook, it becomes difficult to have that baseline. So maybe that could be a common definition.
That can happen if you are doing OTT versus OTT.
Correct.
Has to be at
It
the
may
same
not be OTT versus platforms and the challenge itself is that. So for example, if I have a 6-seconder, I know how it will respond on a YouTube versus a Facebook, right? Or versus the OTT. And like I think what you pointed out correctly is you create your own benchmarks on, that's what actually I think as an industry actually everybody's doing, right? We're creating our own benchmarks, we're learning A/B testing if required by campaign and see how things are responding. But I think from a marketer's perspective, it's very different and difficult to make stakeholders also understand how not to have a common currency. But in that kind of a thing, you go back to like a very manual exercise, which you may want to do on an Excel sheet and show someone and call it unduplicated reach or duplicated reach, right? For all the, see, because the CFO would not understand what, let's say, a media person would. And I think somewhere you will have to create that, we do end up creating that science somewhere internally within TCPL to make at least some sense of to get the ROI rolling. Otherwise, I think, like you said, it's a black box, right? I mean, and every BLS of Google is excellent. I have never seen a BLS of Google which is like, sorry, job not done, right? So, I mean, what do you do in that case, right? So you have to have that assumption somewhere, and I think what everybody needs to understand, and within the marketing fraternity also, we understand that it's not 100% accurate. We have to have that iota that, okay, whatever you're seeing, maybe 80% there, right? At least live with it till the time you have a bark who raises their hand, which is the project finally kicks off. So if that ever happens, but that's where we are right now. So it's, I would say no choice, but this is the best available right now. The industry is
Attention, therefore, common, standardized. But I'm thinking, but I don't know, because if you're doing for CTV, the screen size itself will, show you better attention metrics through a mobile. So maybe that also cannot be.
Yeah, maybe like the IRIS thing that you were also talking about. I think that it will create, common currency. The IRIS eye movement can be a great currency for us as an industry to see.
Yeah.
Because you understand that on let's say mobile versus a CTV versus something else,
Right.
it's going to be different, and then you know you have a benchmark versus
Right.
just the eye movement, like how facial recognition has evolved,
Hmm.
right? You think of it like that. So I think that can be another currency which can become common.
But then, to add to it, yes, of course, that makes sense. But it still will end up being a playbook is what I feel. Rather than one unified approach. It will be a playbook, by device, by format, by platform.
Speaking of playbook, do you have a playbook which says that how much I can save by activating some ad hoc mechanism on platform A, platform B, platform C?
And I was like, let's cut.
Yes. I think the point is that when you look at offline media, you talk about wastage. You even talk about awareness campaign, you also talk about wastage because standard conversion would be let's say 2% to 4%, whatever it is. Right? Now if my saving by implementing an additional activity is 5% or 10%, is it something worth fighting for?
Yeah, so short answer is yes. Sorry that this slide is right there. So if you look at, we started as probably a protection solution, don't think it otherwise, but brand safety and fraud and viewability, brand safety and fraud, which keeps your brand in a saner environment, keeps your brand ethos in, but does it guarantee, as you said, saving or an efficiency, right? May not be, right? Which is where the other products started coming into place, right? So, for example, ensuring efficiency via measuring viewability and brand suitability, right? We were talking about quality CPM or viewable CPM, right? That brings in now efficiencies in your plans when you are buying on YouTube or dedicated format. You move further, you add attention to it, right? You add contextual to it. And now you move further with Science, which is giving you outcomes, right? Now outcomes not necessarily will be savings. It can be any KPI that you want. It brings in efficiencies. So now you have a gamut where you start from hygiene, brand safeguarding to bring in more efficiencies by measuring viewability, and then adding on top of it the AI optimizer, where now you see actual efficiencies coming your way as the campaign is progressing. Right? You don't have to wait for a BLS to happen. You don't have to wait for mark reports to come in and TV associates.
So, if you are saying efficiency in terms of rates, etc., may not be, but if by taking this approach, you are
So I'm thinking
purchasing intent, right, of any
I'm simply figuring out that what eventually is the value that this will add.
I'll tell you what. Unfortunately, the first conversation is always about efficiency, and the slide that Ishan spoke about generative AI, there is going to be a lot of media supply going forward, right? And media will become efficient. It will become cheaper, but not all cheaper impressions are effective at it, right? Somewhere we will all realize, and this is what has happened. Brands that have been using us for 7-8 months, the first KPI always given to us is bring it cheaper, bring it cheaper, bring it cheaper, and then suddenly the shift happens that I've achieved efficiency. I know now that the tool works. Now can we make it more precise? Can we make it more effective? That's where a quality CPM comes in. A quality CPM, the way you will probably define, will be very different from what you define, because if both brands, and within a company, the brands are at the different stages altogether. Right? So a brand which has been recently introduced would probably want to get more number of completed views, etc. And a brand which has been there for a long time, like yours, would probably want to look at the clicks and engagement, etc. Right? So that comes in. Now, what is efficient and what is effective for you is something that you will define. The good news is that you can train the algorithm the way you want it, because it is like your dog, right? You tell it what do you want and it will go fetch. So that clarity is something that has to come from you, and once that comes in, it's maths.
So more like reinforcement learning that you are talking about.
No, it's so let me give you an example, right? Now when you buy impressions today, right? Every impression that you buy has about 50 odd variables. Okay? Now 50 odd variables are available of each impression in your log level data. Unfortunately, without machine learning, there is no way to learn it, because humanly it is impossible to make sense of it. Now when you see conversions, whatever that may mean to you, conversion could be your just brand recall, conversion could be your actual conversion, clicks, whatever it is, you will find a combination of some of these variables in all the impressions that have converted, right? What the machine allows you to do is learn what combination of these variables are actually converting for me, and then go to the pool which is available in your DSP and look for those impressions. Eventually you will see you will buy far more precise impressions than just buying a whole lot of impressions in a particular budget.
So we've done some experiment like this for one of the FMCG brands. So Ananya, the irony is that obviously you are also from the same industry, you know, a lot of times you hear this conversation of digital is not working. I mean, forget about the objective of, you know, replacing it with TV objective. That's because your audience is moving, you're just showing your spot to, you know, your consumer. That's a different objective. But the medium itself allows so many things for you to do. And when you do that, there is this general thing that it's a black box, it's not working. But at the same time, I don't think so, but we still want to buy cheap. But we are not looking at why it is not working. But it's very different from TV. You have so many, you know, consumers, so many impressions. The publisher ecosystem is like this, and there are challenges you cannot undo that. Hence, what the inertia continues, though, that you don't want to buy effective impressions, but you want to continue buying efficient impressions. So my only submission to a lot of my clients that I work with is that you have to test and try, right? We have tested for effective impressions to efficient impressions. Scale is very low as of now. But the brand lifts or the purchase intent, it's marginally, you know, higher because of the scale, obviously, but we've seen results.
Which is a fair point, because eventually it's like, even I'm not looking at efficiencies as much as effectiveness.
So your return on what you're spending in whatever KPIs that you're measuring to what maybe you could have done without viewability, that is the number I think if you all have, those really help, you know, marketeers to kind of take a decision. But my only way to look at it is try both, and then we're seeing where, but it has been, you know, effective.
Right.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So as we're on AI, right? So we as DB, we are on 4 pillars of AI, right? So what we do is we have predictive AI, we have classification AI, where we classify content at scale and create different categories for you to choose from, right? Contextual target or more blog, violence content or drug-related content that you can block automatically. So that with the help of AI at scale that happens. Then fraud detection AI, obviously you can't live without AI to detect fraud. We update our DSP partners every 8 minutes on fraud detection, right? It's as dynamic. And then of course generative AI. Now, is really AI making entrance into your lives when you are thinking about your brand and your plans? And if yes, how are you really thinking about AI at this point of time this year? At any side of your brand plans, be it media, be it creative, execution, whatever.
I think it's step beyond the thinking about AI.
Yeah, I know.
It's about implementation.
I was just going to say, I think it's beyond. Yeah, it's implemented. I think we're just waiting for.
And what are those implementations? If you can just briefly, if you're in a position to talk, of course.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if one example, we used generative AI to create experiences for our consumers, right? Narrative, storytelling, right? And how to, you know, kind of, like recently we've done some campaign for ITC Foods for Dark Fantasy where we've used SRK as a celebrity and we've used, you can feature in an ad with Shah Rukh Khan, right?
That's quite viral.
And that's been a great success. And the first party data and at what cost that the brand has, you know, and then we use that a lot to therefore again run campaigns, created lookalikes, and that kind of sustenance over a period of time. It's 3 months and we're still continuing to, you know, and that would like a great example. Creative, right? We're also a creative agency. We run creatives, we create a lot of content at scale for some of our brands. And we don't have production people at all, right? Everything is created on the go. And there's master creative, there's brand, everything that's thought through, and then the rest is taken care by at least agencies. I don't think so we can survive without AI infrastructure across anything, and that's been like a great run for us.
And how the teams are kind of coping with that? I mean, are you spending a lot of time upskilling your teams? It comes inherently.
That investment also has been done. See, we are now seeing results.
I
Because,
think
yeah.
the younger audience, I mean, we have a lot of young kids in my office. You don't need to teach them anything, right? They just know how to run everything.
So, in fact, generative AI has already been spoken about. Let's go back to AI ML as well.
Yeah.
Machine learning algorithms have contributed. There are published cases. One of them got published at Oxford recently, right? In a digital marketing campaign, use of AI, right? So the impact that we saw was 2.7x against the plain vanilla campaign where we were not using AI. All of the rest of the targeting was in place. With AI, with those optimizations, we saw 2.7x better results. That's the kind of impact we are seeing. Upskilling already been done. I mean, it's not a big deal upskilling when you have the tools and partners ready and available. Right? It's about understanding what are the points that we are optimizing on. And I would like to make a submission here. One more thing is really, really important is to understand what is the ROI you are looking for. How are you going to measure it? How are you going to understand if this made sense to me? If you don't have that in mind, and if you go up and go into AML, you'll end up struggling to understand what value is it adding. You can't go there and just look at cost savings. You need to look at more benefits out of it and have a clear understanding of what those benefits are, how can you quantify those benefits and present it. So comprehensive strategy.
But also adding to the point, I mean, we have been talking about AI population and we keep targeting them. Now AI is making that easier because it is more systematic and you have probably with dynamic creative optimization you can do that. But even controlling that, now AI is like you are creating a sort of a superpower which will be segmenting and sending the creative and all. But where we are controlling that, I think that is something probably as an industry we need to figure out that if I'm using AI, there are instances where what we are talking about is 2.7x of increase. But even I'm using AI at a full scale, but where I'm controlling it, is there an ad fraud? Because again, you are fighting a computer versus a computer. I mean, can we
brilliant point, because that is something that we can optimize based on as well. That is one of the triggers we can input into the campaign so that the AI starts optimizing based off those.
He said, you currently measure brand safety, suitability. I would rather talk about brand suitability than brand safety, right? Because now AI learns within the campaign from the data and it realizes that I need. So these are the filters that you put in. So while you have an AI-based creative mechanism, you will have an AI-based optimization mechanism which will ensure that it filters out the things that we are not supposed to take.
Yes.
So at multiple factors you're improving the
These are signals, right? So these signals are, and digital marketing is data rich. We just need to connect the dots.
So I just would love to understand the L2 of this. For example, if somebody set up a digital campaign on either Meta or YouTube and you have a certain targeting that you fed in the ads manager, do we have like tools which have API integration with these platforms and then the AI kicks in?
Yes.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Those tools are available.
In fact, I have a client.
Great fan of campaigns. I think we've tested a lot of campaigns and I think it's a great tool. In fact, I have a client.
You're talking about the UK one which the Cybers was presented.
Yes.
I have a client who asked me when, till now you guys charged by showing proof of concept, but now that you have AI and everything is like given, why can't you charge basis actual, sale cost, whatever it is. You don't need retainers and fee in between because you have AI to do everything. So I think the expectation is
That's called in-house.
But I think what we do essentially is we talk the language of ROI. As long as the ROI is positive, there is definitely no question. And if the ROI is not positive, then you don't use us. It's as simple as that, right? 99.9% of the cases we've seen a positive ROI. Only in cases where somebody wants to target a female on CTV. But otherwise, its ROI should be the benchmark, and if it comes out to be 2 or 2 plus, then definitely.
I watch CTV only.
But there's a question. This third party cookie is going away. The AI helped to counter that. So I don't. It's a question.
Absolutely.
Is there a
That was my next
I was going to make that mistake, but I don't know. I think Sakshi sent me a map and I was like, okay.
Ask Vivancha for me is the range road.
Absolutely.
I went there and like waiting, figuring out where the room is and then
Left side.
It's mainland China, okay? It's a nice Chinese food.
We made that mistake few days back when we booked Taj MG Road. We were happening there.
Right, so.
Yeah. And you dodged a few couple of ice-breaking questions. So that's why.
Lucky me.
But I think yeah, great question on privacy. I think we're all talking about it finally.
Yeah, finally the cookie crumbles and crumbling.
Actually, is there a big impact on India? With most of the people, actually, most of us are not on desktops. Right? So, what is the kind of impact in India as compared to other markets?
I would rather let marketers answer that, because I think third party and first party data is something that these, and especially the e-com platforms.
E-com partners have the advantage because they have
the first party data.
But people like us, where our D2C website is there, but it's not at the scale of Meesho and Flipkart and all that. But how do we, like, how is AI countering the cookie discipline, third party cookies?
So we don't operate on cookies. Yeah. We French startup. We started in 2016, being at the center of GDPR. So we didn't operate in cookies. So in GDPR countries there is no use of cookies. So we built a product that relies on the impression level data. So let me try and tell you. Currently, the DSPs that exist, right? They have a pixel scoring mechanism. Essentially, you tell the DSP that this particular event is more important than the other event, and it will do a pixel scoring wherever you apply pixel. What the AI does is AI does impression scoring. So every impression is, and impression, like I said, have about 50 odd variables. And if you look at the common driving factors for performance, there are about 28 odd variables which are available. These could be app URL, these could be temperature of the TTD talks about temperature of the day also, etc. Right? So this is the data that AI uses and understands what combination will drive conversion, and that conversion can be whatever you want, right? So there is no use of cookies.
So it counters the lack of cookies.
Correct.
So everything is PII now, right? So you will not have that implication much, even in terms of the cookie.
Standard. We changed the questionnaire. We said, okay, let's kill half of the questionnaire. Every month imagery, why do we need to track? Why do we need to track buying? You reverse the entire questionnaire to say what media are you consuming. And you send the branded tracker to actually get first principles media consumption data from all the survey partners. And you do this over 3 months with different cities, different businesses. And you somehow get a sense of, okay, at least at a SCR or at least at a region, sub-region level, what are people over-indexing on? I know it's not like exact science.
We need to find these hacks.
So that has a lot of, like data is telling us that यहाँ पे Facebook बड़ा है, but the user not saying. And when you visit on the ground also, you realize that people are on Meta, people are here, Snapchat, नहीं दिख रहे. So then you adjust the weights accordingly. So at least at some macro level, you do those adjustments.
What are your recommendations as an agency for clients who don't have first-party data, who are heavily reliant on cookies right now? How are you kind of?
Every time the question that's it's coming on points that we have at the list. Again, this is something that we have successfully helped navigate because fact is this cookie deprecation has been in the wings for 2.5 years now. So so it was something that we were thinking about all along. There are multiple solutions. We don't have one solution. So 1-3D is one way to proceed. Right? Looking at alternatives, what is contextual? Is this something that makes sense to me? How else do I do this? How do I use the platform's data? Right? Because they have collected it and they are owning that data and we are just leveraging by utilizing those platforms. So all of these are pieces of the puzzle. The one thing that's still unsolved for me is the future of unified IDs.
Yeah.
Because until and unless that becomes.
So in theory, we have heard about unified IDs a lot, but actually in practice, I don't think so. Today we are able to do that. And while I think a lot of, like we said, different platforms, different solutions, are there, I also have interesting cases of, unlike e-commerce, obviously you can get because the entire transaction is within your control, but even your, FMCG organizations are finding ways of creating more 1P, right? Like different engagement programs, right? You do, things like bringing media together, multimedia together, your outdoor to print to digital. There are multiple innovative ways of collecting 1P data, and that's like, and at scale, right? And that's another way of, ensuring that you have a lot of.
Back in the day, and I had ABs, we used to work together, and I think all Budweiser events, what we did was, every time you come buy a Bud, or you come and interact with that Bud zone that is there in the event, you'll have a QR, you'll have a sign up, you take a selfie, do the sign up, you get something in return, and we get. And I think now, when we started with a few thousand, now that 1P data runs in a couple of million. Over time.
That's like one which never goes out of fashion, right? Every time one community goes out there, ensure your consumer is talking back to you. Very innovative, creative ways of how we can do it, but then that never dies.
Talking from the agency, right, I think to add into a point, a lot of conversational commerce, right? Like these days, all of your click to WhatsApp and your messenger ads, etc. The moment you opt in, right, you are giving consent, and in some way, right, basically you're collecting data where tomorrow you can use that platform as a CRM as well, right? Instagram has rolled out reminder ads. You just give consent, and like for a period you can keep on sending reminders. I think even platforms like Meta, Google are kind of solving for people who don't have first party, so that I think that gap will be filled.
Yes, so end to end, if you use one platform like Meta, I think within that you can have different strategies to address that point.
I'm remembering that slide that Jyoti was presenting earlier, that she was mentioning Australia and some New Zealand are like human, and India and China are right up there with everyone. I think the simple explanation is we look at data in a different way. It's not a currency to us yet. Right? And that's one of the reasons why we are doing this, because signing up on WhatsApp, sharing that, just scanning that QR code, taking the selfie and all, they place a lot of attention to that, because what are you going to do with that? They're going to ask you that. For us, while privacy is a definite concept and it is picking up, but it is not picking up in an absolute manner. It's picking up in its own Indian tadka wala version, a different flavor to that question in India. So right now it's happening in a way where somebody was just talking about, in this room, somebody was saying that, I think it was Sumitra, that a lot of my 60s population is more on Facebook, right? So what they do is they don't understand the concept, because they're not reading through it. To them, it's trust, something that they've been used to all through their life, right? And off the back of that trust, one more important thing for us as marketers, it is important for us to educate everyone that you can trust, provided, we are giving you transparency. By reading this, you can trust us. If after reading this, you don't trust us, then don't give us your data. But then don't expect those two services as well.
Also, levies into what I have been pondering over is ethical advertising. But it's far more difficult to keep them engaged, because again, a lot of aspects come into play where user just does intent. So building value proposition and ensuring you follow through with something more, so that the intent is more, right? So it's
and also to add to that, give them an option to opt out as well.
Absolutely.
I could see that later.
I think your question actually which you were asking, right? What are people doing in the third party bookings that we, I think, just coming back to that. Obviously, we are mobile first as country, because that's why we doesn't have a disadvantage. But maybe for FMCG like us, there are D2C and there are certain brand websites. But I think what we've done is we've got a tech stack in place, which brings everything together. But maybe I would be more interested to know how the ad fraud tool, can it work on a tech stack as well, or would it just be with the publishers? Because I think I have not seen a used case of working on marketing stack. because what will happen is even if you control it at the execution level, there are cookies which have already gone, right? Or there is data which has already gone, which has got collected, and then later if I get to know that remove that, I may not be able to do it very easily, right? Versus if I can do it on the tool, on my stack, I would feel that is a much better way. Both sides. If it's execution and on the stack.
It's an interesting problem, right? Because like in auto category, you have so much of performance marketing lead generation.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So most times this is always challenging the field team that hey, there was an intent.
Yeah.
So it's not if something is self-solicited, it should not be a chunk.
Yes.
But you're right, which is why at least as a surrogate, my intent is that what is that intervention between lead filling and engagement with the on-ground team that builds qualification.
Yeah, especially to my D2C.
Absolutely.
I feel
In
that would
fact,
be a bit of
we talked about ethical advertising. Marketer would never ever go out of it, but yes, the publisher side.
Yeah, this is more because the product team needs to create that. I think there are some people who already got to that journey. I think you're given a job to navigate in terms of how do we get to.
My only challenge is GDPR, right? So we, the moment we get into that space, we are playing around with privacy. We are third party, right? You have your own stack.
You have to talk to the guys, like Adobe and Salesforce, for that matter.
But still, right? It's third party. We are not collecting data. And the moment we start,
maybe it's more marketer's wish list, not currently now, but would love to have.
I think Adobe and fraud are not talking to each other right now because I think it's an interesting.
So at a DSP level we do, but not at a CDP. CDP level. And CDP.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a immediate solution to it.
Yeah. But it's interesting feedback. I was just telling her it's feedback from a product team to ponder upon.
Yeah. I mean, see, this is what happens when you see a real life problem.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's
internally like one way to, and this is true for brand and platforms. Like for example, R1P data YouTube should not be allowed to release anything. But maybe solution doesn't lie at a PI level, but at an aggregated pool level. You say that hey, we have a quality of users stack rank happening, and at least, and you define, you name whatever aggregate level call you want, and then you say yes, at this level, at this stack or this aggregate level, this is not happening, and that integration can happen in the next time. It's like a mass
between CDP, just to like, and so there you take your CDP, That between CDP is where people like you guys can.
Business ideas coming from.
Next time I want my product here in this room and all.
No, but like she said, these are the real scenario problems and not, what we know.
And you guys stand for it,
The name says it all. We have a consent already. But great, I think fantastic conversation. We're running out of time. It's short of 8:30. Last question for everyone, just to summarize. We spoke about AI, attention, privacy, and whatnot. For each one of you, what is your biggest focus for this year? And anything if falls within this topic or outside of these topics. Just one focus area. If you want to start.
Yeah, I can start. I think our
spot a lot of times.
Our focus area next year is to, of course, expand the user base. Right? So our categories are increasingly going away from fashion categories. And at the same time, I think it's a double-edged sword because we are in a phase where we have gained a lot of credibility, a lot of protecting our current user base while at the same time attracting users.
Meesho scaling up this year further.
Hopefully.
Meesho has been,
the fastest growing e-commerce.
I'm a great fan of how Meesho has built, themselves as a brand over, a lot of, it's interesting. Well, I think as agencies for us, we've heard a lot of, problems, solutions. We've spoken about influencers. We said ad fraud. I mean, there are many things within the digital ecosystem marketplace. It's quite overwhelming, right? So when brands come to us in terms of, I have 100 rupees, right? And this is my objective, right? And you have 200 touch points, so many consumers. It becomes very difficult for brands as well as us to pinpoint and say, spend here, spend here, spend here. So as agencies, it is on us, and we are moving in that direction where we are also building. Our focus is going to be this year with AI, without AI, whatever it is. Also, kind of collaborate with a lot of partners to have our own frameworks, right, or tools that can help ease the planning on digital, right? For example, you have reach, obviously you have impressions, you have comScore, many other tools which will give you one dimension of how to plan. But there is time spent, right? There is, in fact, my brain's already running. I'm thinking, how do I even bring attention planning into that tool that we are building? Because we want to make it easy for brands, right? So that it's you put a problem statement, you put your objective, you put your audience, you put the size, and then you have variables like your reach, your time spent, and your attention now and thinking, and all of this come together. What is my best plan? Right? So if that's the direction that I think as agency we are working towards, so I know a lot of it will happen with AI, but I also believe a lot of it will happen in terms of that, thinking of how to simplify a planning in digital ecosystem for partners, for our clients. I think that's a large focus area for us, and let's see how that.
Just to add, I think to her point, right? Like at Flipkart, we nearly do more than 100 mobile launches in India, right? Yeah. Every month we have about 4 to 5 mobile launches, and this is because for 5 years we have tons of learnings where a phone which is say under 15K or 50 to 25K at a different price point with this RTP, etc. There's literally a menu card which you create, right? Where I know if you want to launch a 25K phone, and it is probably the RTB is say camera but not this, but not that. We recommend, even if the budget is say 1 crore or 2 crore, we tell no, 75 lakh is enough. Yeah. X reach and Y frequency is enough, right? Depending on so much of so it's literally a menu card which is come to us and we serve it. So
absolutely, I'll tell you why I don't have it like that, but we are building principles for us, which means that for this category, for this objective, this threshold, this media, this platform, it's like in fact, one client asked me when I said this, that can you build a SaaS kind of a thing where this is my platform, I will click everything, and then I know your principles also are fed, because I am talking about it. He said, Aparna, it's in your brain. I can't get your time all the time, but I need those principles for me. So can you just click, and I have those principles and I know what. I was like, wow, that's like future of our agency. So but yeah, so that's where it will have to go.
We do get a lot of menu cards from Flipkart. For the laptops.
Did they ever tell you to not spend 75 lakhs?
Me again, as an agency, see, attention is important, but at the same time, building it up, building the confidence will take time, just like APAC happened, but scaling up, extrapolation will be huge right now. So till the time you have enough meters, confidence level will not be there, right? Big for me is AI, and yes, many people, many agencies are actually taking the shift very quickly, but I feel it's not that easier said than done. We all were aiming for an integrated planner at one point of time, offline to digital. All agencies spoke about it for years. It is still happening.
It will never happen.
We all are saying that adoption towards AI needs to happen. Can I get into technicals of AI? Maybe not. I will have to hire juniors, I have to hire young people who have that adaptability. So for me, that shift is happening and it takes some time.
I think 2 areas, one from a business perspective and one definitely to reach out to the newer markets. So for us, because we are obviously a legacy brand, right? We have been sort of created that aura of maybe Santur, maybe Yardley, maybe all of these brands, right? So one of the challenges that we are finding out right now, for example, if I talk about Santur, and Santur is always being seen as a mystical entity. A mom have taken dikti nahi hai, that's the reason, right? Santur mom, right? And that we have been built so well that anyone seeing orange and a young mom saying Santur, right? So we have built that. So over the time, what happened that when we look at that and we saw that the consumer has graduated. Obviously, the consumer which we are targeting 20 years back, she has become now senior mom, and there is this audience who is Gen Z, for example, 16 to 18 or 18 to 25 years. So they are saying that why it is relevant for us, right? And hence, what I feel, and internally the discussion that happened is the content that needs to be created, right? So while we talk about AI, we talk about privacy, we talk about how to sort of deploy that, I think that content deployment and how we can sort of create that differential in terms of creative, in terms of the deployment channels, the right audience, right measurement, I think that is important. Where I'm not losing my current audience because I have to live with that, because that's a tool that I have created. And then how am I recruiting? Because in most of the markets we are number one. And in where we are number one, the task is to recruit new consumer, right? And that's a challenge. So that is, I think, one challenge that we are fighting on. The second one which we try to look at, for example, in India roughly 800-850 million is the rural audience, right? And which FMCG perspective, primarily for us perspective, we are so much GT dependent. We are not so LT rather than GT, right? It's a general trade versus modern trade that we are talking about. So for us, the FMCG category as a whole, if I look at, the rural consumer contribute around 40 to 45% of our consumption. Okay, so it's that big. And when we all talk about AI, all talk about content and privacy and everything, it doesn't bother for the 850 million, right? And for them, it's like one ad. I mean, now Jio Cinema, they are launching a smartphone where they are inbuilding Jio Cinema, saying that okay, now you can see it can run as a sport. So that's a future-oriented thing, which is they're starting with IPL, they're starting with WPL and all of this, right?
That's where the growth will be.
That's where the growth will be.
Next billion.
So hence, how we can capture that audience, right? Because whenever we talk about digital ecosystem, we talk about primarily a metro and tier 1 audience. How to get into tier 3, tier 4 deeper and create that influence. I think that is something that we are working.
In fact, great 2 points, Suman. The first one that he spoke about was on content, right? And I didn't mention it here as a trend because of the kind of topics that we have, which are mostly alluding to tech. But I think what we underplay is storytelling. At the end of the day, while there is tech to deliver so many things, what you say, kind of is the most important thing. And somewhere I think the problem that he stated of with attention span decreasing, reaching out to younger audiences, how do we actually build narratives which are different, again in different platforms, but how do we build narratives which are crisp, short, and which also brings alive that storytelling? So brand narratives and storytelling to me is like really, really important that brands need to crack. Otherwise there's no differentiation. There's no differentiation in your products, offerings, but if there is no differentiation in how you are talking to your consumers, and at that context and point in time, now if there's a AI thing for that, then I think it will really be helpful, because while, I don't know if there is any solution yet, but that becomes a really important strategy.
So
I think for us, distribution media, and I think the system is very used to it already. Everybody has, I think, even whether it is the sales department who doesn't really understand AI as a very, very well. I think it's made to what they can understand, and that's in-house built. A lot of things. So a lot of things on AI we build in-house. We don't really have partners, except media where we have, of course, partners, and that is how the ecosystem is. I think for this year what we need more and more focus is get an evolved version, and I think learn from the other markets. So we have our presence in different other markets outside India, and of course, like somebody said, like the US or the UK or somebody would be on a higher curve, right, by default, because we are evolved in that manner. So I think within the system of Tatas, we learn a lot from each other. And I think that's where I think we'll always be focusing in general. But I think AI for us would be more embedded in everyday conversation, so they say, rather than a conversation which comes on and off. I think that's how.
Happy that everyone's talking about AI because we just launched a couple of AI PCs. So, so I think AI will be everywhere for sure. I think from a hardware point of view, we are doing a lot of work on the AI part, specific processing units to do the workflows in AI. So I think that way conversation will be very much relevant, right? So I think from a product point of view, from business point of view, AI devices will be something key for us. We're also expanding into categories like consumer electronics, EVs and all of that, right? So we are expanding our market into multiple other categories beyond your core PC, right? So I think that's something which we'll be heavily focusing on. On the AI part, on our D2C store, we are looking at implementing AI-based product recommendations. So that's something we are integrating from HQ level. All the work is happening from there. So it'll be interesting to see how that's going to affect us because we are still, although there are a lot of conversation around AI, I think we need to figure out what works best for us in terms of media buying. Creative for sure, there are a lot of use cases, I think that's pretty given. From a media buying point of view, I'm also still learning from in this kind of forums and other places what AI will help. So I think that's something which we need to figure out in terms of, okay, this is what is working for me. It might take maybe a quarter or two to kind of narrow down into something which really works for us. But for sure, I think with third-party cookie going away, that's what I asked the question, how is AI going to replace that? I think whatever I'm hearing sounds very exciting in terms of the new capabilities we are able to build. So I think that'll be something which I'm looking forward and for sure, I'm hoping that's something which will deliver results for us. But ultimately, for us, it's a very deliberate purchase, a laptop, a TV, or any of this. Like experimental purchase that you buy and see, and then if it doesn't work, you can buy something else. You buy a laptop for the next 3-4 years, right? So for us, it has to work throughout the funnel, from top to bottom, it has to work. So how do we kind of ensure that helps that audience going down the funnel? I think that's where it will be interesting. So, yeah, I think 2024 I think is the start of an exciting AI journey.
For me, I think my first, personally, my first focus is on talent. I think it's critical for my existing talent pool, whether in-house or external, to have that balance of coexisting with AI. So, personally, my focus is there, right? Having the right set of people who are both seasoned or inquisitive to leverage. The second focus is on being more articulate about building use cases and not getting into shiny, exciting, trending objects. So I think that's broadly our. Yeah.
So for us, we are at a point where we understand very clearly that there are a lot of solutions, a lot of integrations, a lot of answers out there which are not complete as well. But then, whatever we have, we want to work with them. So our focus, especially in 2024, is a lot more on automation to bring all of these together. To bring in, an AI, I will not name these individual pieces because it's more like bringing in automation at a strategic level to an implementation level, to a standardization and benchmark level, and to a post-analysis level as well. So that's what we are working on, and something that we have made huge strides in as well. Started in 2023, continuing through 2024 with a lot more focus, and that's where what we are envisioning is something that should be all-encompassing, although it should not be limiting our approaches as well. It is not something that we want to roll out as if this is a one-stop solution. It is something that will leverage everything, including the integration element, right, of multiple platforms. So that's what we are working towards, to bring in everything, while understanding that not everything is a complete solution. So that's where we are stuck as well, but still trying.
I was reading through Rupert's earning calls, and the CEO mentioned that they want to transform it into a SaaS company now.
Well, it
Just
is there, but yeah.
some vision to have. I think it's something very exciting in pipeline.
So I think from Flipkart point of view, right, I think Shamil was mentioning, right, Meesho is like planning from a vertical to horizontal. So within Flipkart we have a reverse challenge, right, while we are horizontal, but see e-commerce, right, in India there's a behavior that, okay, you're comfortable buying t-shirt, you're comfortable buying phone, you're comfortable buying something. But beyond that, to push someone, like, you don't know, the curtain at your back door, probably even that you can buy online, but there's tendency that no, probably I'll buy that somewhere, right? So within horizontal, to increase width of people, our challenge is not to get more people, right? We have enough people. But within people, how can we re-engage, re-push them into a different categories, super categories, is I think one of the key areas. Now while, see, one added advantage Flipkart has is, of course, first party data, a lot of tech, everyone are talking about AI, we are very strong in terms of recommendation, right? Like, we know someone who has bought ABC, he's definitely going to buy me, right? The challenge is, how do we externalize that? Right now, from an internal ecosystem, I can do recommendation. How can I externalize that on, say, Meta, Google? Because today, Meta and Google have their own algorithms. They know if you are chatting on WhatsApp and you're talking about something, that's the ad which they will push, right? But to be able to kind of push what I know that, you know, this user is going to probably buy next, right? How do we externalize this entire learning recommendation on external platforms and kind of build a framework is a key job to be done, which we are kind of focusing on, and I think that is going to be one from a business point of view. From my personal, you know, point of view, I think a lot of points Aparna covered, right? On the, we were talking about how do you expand from T1, you move to T2, T3, T4 with all of new people, right? I think everything sums up to this one buzzword of relevance. How can you be relevant? See, gone are those days where you take, say, a Alia or a Dhoni as a brand ambassador and you're sure that you're going to cut through, right? People are, because the same seller is going to, he's endorsing 10 different brands and you know, probably they're not consuming or whatever, right? So I think time is going to change when people are going to be okay with a lesser budget production but relevant person, right? Probably having someone from my tier whom I know and he's going to endorse something. How can this become a multi-scale where like people are okay seeing low production ads, randomly apne camera, you record and you run that, people are okay. People don't need beautiful ads. People need relevance.
It's like a
Exactly, right? So relevancy, I think that I feel 2024 is going to be a big year where people with a lot of this frugality where you want to cut down on budgets but still you want to do things. I think this is something I'm definitely looking forward, and if there's a breakthrough on that, I think nothing like it.
I think AI is predominantly English, right? I don't think language they have cracked. Hindi is it?
Yeah, all in.
All regional.
Language engineering through AI is
It is possible, so I think that helps companies like Meesho, Flipkart really to get that scale, regional.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us the biggest, I think for you also the biggest use case has been CX, customer escalations and customer support, and there, like our
responses are in
our users are always vernacular. Like
but the problem is that the English.
Yeah, that's the
those are the issues, right? I mean, it's very difficult that you type in the exact.
There was a learning curve, of course. Like the team fortunately had started like 8 months back. So then there was that learning curve of taking a sample set of users, whom we continued to give some bad experience at the quality of, because the quality of tool needed to be improved. Right. So over months the tool then improved.
So it understands English that can.
Now it does. Now it can identify that users using mix of Kannada, Hindi, English, sometimes 3-4 languages also it is.
I think like he said, AI is like
There is that 2-month, 3-month, 4-month suffering period where the quality of output is bad and you need to cross that valley to then see like.
yeah, but there's no choice but to go through that.
Yeah.
In our sales pitches, we call it the learning period. I'm suffering.
Yes, the uncanny valley is what you call it.
Can deepfake become legalized? Is there something like that? Because you know, then personalization and what he's saying that Shah Rukh Khan can be maybe talking to me.
instead of talking as a generic person and therefore influential.
I think consent it will be. If
Some companies are already doing a legal deepfake.
I think there's a recent campaign called
There's some companies are already doing
Nora Fateh.
So there are platforms, there are more maybe on the illegal part, the way it is used. But from an advertiser standpoint, we've seen cases of
I think
going in
that
and then so replace was into, but there are platforms who actually take the legal, kind of a route, and then you can work with them. Like this, I asked a creative agency. I'm not sure. I mean, you're from Havas, right?
So Havas Creative is there.
Yeah. So Havas Creative itself would have something which will have a legal deck to it. We can't definitely, so we had to do that entire thing and then.
I think the word deepfake carries a negative connotation.
So we started saying that it's Gen AI and deepfake is one.
Is not the legal, deepfake is used in that connotation.
Yeah, it's used in
It is used in the positive connotation where you have the consent, you have the approval and everything, and you are working on something. Deepfake is where you don't have all of that.
Alright, thank you so much everyone. Thank you so much. 5 minutes. Thank you so much for your time. And we didn't feel like you guys want to go home.
Nachiket was thinking I didn't have much to do. They were only creating questions.
I said initially, right, this is the easiest job.
No, but thank you for organizing this. Quite enjoyable.
You guys offer together. And we have drinks outside, so we'll spend more time. Thanks once again.
Yeah, let's have a group photo before we leave.